My name is George Boade. I'm working for the UNESCO Institute for Statistics, and I'm based in Dakar, Senegal, as the Senior Regional Advisor for Africa Field Network. We in a world where data is key in any action targeting a given result. UNESCO has a very large mandate, many sectors: education, culture, communication, information, science, technology, innovation, etc., human resource, social and human resources. So there are so many areas of mandate of UNESCO. And for UNESCO to be efficient in terms of targeting interventions that are relevant for member states, you need to have evidence. And those evidences, they are actually the results of the quality of the data that UNESCO Institute for Statistics is collecting in a number of sectors. So we need data to inform our actions for member states. We need data to ensure that we are using our limited resources efficiently. Is the UNESCO Institute for Statistics doing to ensure that Africa delivers on the SDG 4 targets? Well, it is not only about the SDG 4 targets. We have a large mandate. The UNESCO is also in charge for the monitoring of a number of targets that are outside education sector. For example, culture. We also have science, technology, and innovation. We are also in charge for communication and information, and the numbers of indicators are also there that need to be monitored. So particularly for Africa, what are we doing? You will remember that in April 2018, and the African Union came together to organize the Pan-African Conference on Education. And from that conference, a number of recommendations were formulated by member states. One of them was to ensure that UNESCO and African Union are working together to ensure that there is a joint monitoring and reporting framework for the SDG 4 and the CESA together. The CESA is the Continental Education Strategy for Africa, which covers the period of 2016 to 2025. And it is actually the implementation of Agenda 2063, the Africa we want. So from there, the UNESCO Institute for Statistics has been working hands in hands with the African Union through the IPED, Institute for the Planification for Education in Africa, to ensure that we have the joint mechanism in place. And this is where then we managed to work together to put in place a joint work plan through the CESA cluster, which is dealing with planning, and the UIS is leading a sub-cluster on data and monitoring. And it is from there that we had agreed to move the agenda of the joint continental reporting against CESA, strategic objectives, and the SDG 4 targets. We will also agree that member states will be able to report their own progress, the national reports on SDG 4 and CESA, even if at the continental level there will be this continental joint report, CESA SDG 4, which is going on currently. And so from the other side, we have also been working with the African Union on the benchmarking. We needed to set the benchmarks for 2025, 2030, which is an aspect that has been missing so far. The same as the monitoring. We need to ensure that we don't make the same mistake, like for the MDGs, where member states came after 15 years to tell the world whether they have achieved or not. Monitoring is a continued effort, and this is what UIS is working for in Africa, to ensure that member states will be producing the type of data they need to monitor the national targets against ADG4 CESA within the national context, meaning that the issue of monitoring the ADG4 is not only global, it is including the different levels. That is the global level, the regional level, where we take into account the continental education strategy for Africa, the sub-regional level in number of sub-regions where there are also education agenda, and particularly the national context where each country has its own priorities. Each country is working also to satisfy the number of issues that are only specific to that country. So the monitoring goes through 4 levels: the global, the regional, here the continental, the sub-regional, and the national. This is what we, UNESCO Institute for Statistics, is working for, so that no agenda on education is left behind. Question. First of all, I would like to mention that this is the first ever report on out-of-school children, the national report on out-of-school children in Kenya. I know that there have been a number of issues in the past with the quality of data, etc. But these issues are being tackled together with the Kenya Bureau of Statistics and the Ministry of Education. So why this report for Kenya? First of all, it is to inform the efforts of the government in terms of bringing back those who have not had the opportunity to go to school. It is also to help Kenya do the monitoring of the ADG4. One of the ADG4 indicators is about the rate of out-of-school children in the country. So doing this work, this study, is first to inform the government of Kenya about the effects of its policies regarding the enrollment, as well as keeping children in school, those who have the age between 5 and 17, for example, because this study is targeting this population. So this study will then inform UIS in terms of the out-of-school rate and the numbers for those who are 1 year before entry to primary school. That is 5 years. They are supposed to be in pre-primary. But in Kenya, we know that enrollment to pre-primary is not mandatory. So we will say that these are the children who are missing the opportunity to be prepared to start their primary school. In Kenya, there are 700,000 from the estimates based on the population census conducted by Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in 2019. The second dimension is actually the rate of out-of-school children and the numbers of those who have the age of primary school, meaning 6 to 13 years old. There are 1.1 million according to the same population census. You have then those who are supposed to be in secondary, but they are nowhere, either in a pre-primary, in primary, or in tertiary. These numbers, they are 700,000, aged between 14 and 17, who are missing the opportunity to learn. They are nowhere. But these numbers should also be disaggregated to ensure that meaningful interventions are actually elaborated, be it at the counties levels. And you have seen that the report is very well articulated, and the information is available at the level of the counties themselves and disaggregated by a number of equity variables. So now, how do I see the results used to tackle the issue? Well, I trust that the government of Kenya has already started doing a number of interventions. The UNESCO Regional Office is also working hand in hand with the government of Kenya to ensure that no one is left behind. So the government of Kenya is taking this issue very seriously. The UNESCO office in Nairobi is supporting the government efforts. UNESCO has a convening power. UNESCO has a large mandate, and many issues that were raised in this report are also falling under the mandate of UNESCO. So UNESCO will be there to support government efforts. The government of Kenya leads, and we know that the government of Kenya also delivers, as you can see around. COVID has shown us how weak we are when we don't have real-time data in place, real-time data collection procedures. You see, when the school closed suddenly, learners were just out. And not only in Kenya, but in many other countries around, in Africa, in the world, government decided to implement distance learning modalities, but without a preparation. That was very challenging for all the stakeholders. Teachers who needed now to use ICTs to teach, learners who needed to use ICTs to learn, parents who needed to put in place modalities for distance learning, teaching learning to be effective in their houses, meaning that they needed to buy equipment as well as a connection to internet, or those who were following instructions through TV, radio. If you have many learners in the place who have to do so, you need them to equip them with a number of equipment. So it was very challenging financially. It was also very challenging in terms of spaces, working spaces. Parents were also sent to their place to work from their homes. So you had to learn to work with the kids who are also learning. So the challenges were many. So COVID has actually given us the opportunity to invest in hybrid learning modalities. And this is a recommendation of the UNESCO through the Global Coalition for Education. And data is key in this new setting environment, because you need to know where people are, where learners are. You need then to have an updated house-based surveys. You need to track students unique to a unique ID, including also a number of information of where they sit, where they live, whether they have access to internet, whether they have access to radio, to TV, etc. So the issue of learning, we need now also to look at what could have been the effect of implementing distance learning in these conditions. What could be the effect of this modality on the level of skills acquired by learners? The other thing is COVID is telling us that we should be investing more and more in data collection, data production, and utilization. We have in a number of countries school census that is supposed to be conducted every year, at least twice in the beginning of the school, to inform the allocation of pedagogical materials, resources, etc., allocation of teachers. And secondly, to find out the issue of enrollment, how the system is achieving its targets. But many countries did not have this tradition in place. Some of them will collect data once in 2 or 3 years. And that used to be actually an effort led by partners. Our countries need then to integrate the collection, the production of quality data to inform our education systems. We need to ensure that the expenditures for the production of data is totally integrated in our government budgets, like many other issues. So data is key. It is always recognized in all public speeches by our governments, but little effort to ensure that those in charge of the production of data have enough resources to deliver.